I am Tiffany Coulter, and this is the Balanced Life Podcast. I want to thank you for joining me today. Today, we're going to be talking about how to build your market or your customer base using a few methods, including social media. I want to start by saying that building a market is about establishing relationship credibility and showing yourself to be a useful and consistent source of information. Those of you who have been watching my podcast for a while understand that I bring answers to specific questions, and I've been getting a little bit better over the last year since I've been doing this. We're all in a learning process, and the same is going to be true with you. However, the goal should always be provide value, answer specific questions, and then get out of the way. The idea that people want to listen to us kind of just chit chat and talk about ourselves in general, unless you're a more entertainment focused enterprise, is not going to build your market. So I had an interesting thing happen this past week. I went to a conference and had a table. I had one a year ago, but I wasn't really prepared. I didn't have all the fundamentals around for this company yet, but it did lead to me starting this podcast. But other than that, it had been almost 11 years since I was at a conference. I used to go to multiple conferences every year. I would work as a keynote speaker. I'd be a workshop speaker. I'd be a breakout speaker. I would have tables just of my products available. And so it'd been a long time since I had been out there. And what I've noticed is that there's so much noise on the internet that really that one-on-one interaction was huge. I increased by, I won't give exact numbers, but I increased in my subscribers. I increased in people applying for my courses and signing up for my courses. I almost completely sold out of one of my books, and I sold a number of other books. I found that the two main areas of interest were how to become a writer and information on homeschooling, although it was more about information about homeschooling as opposed to implementation tools for homeschooling. So that was interesting data that I gathered just having that interaction time with people. In addition to that, your online presence needs to focus on answering very specific questions, sticking to one or two questions in any given post or video. You don't want to make it too broad. You're not trying to teach an entire lecture series in a single video. And keep in mind the person that you're talking to. Don't worry as much about how you came to that conclusion and the kind of things that you want to talk about, the niftiness, the process. Focus on giving them the result, what they'll get when they implement this system or when they use this tool. You really want to focus in on showing people how this solves their problem. That will increase your level of engagement, your level of following, how much people are interested in what you have to say and what you're doing, and it will increase your subscribership to whether it's, I personally love my Substack, so building the balanced life.substack.com is my Substack for the balanced life. I also have the others for young entrepreneurs, educational things like homeschooling and becoming a writer. So I have a variety of Substacks focused at my specific audience, and that's another thing. Make sure that when you're doing anything social, whether it's a video, a podcast, an article, a blog, whatever you're putting out, even if it's your table, make sure that you're focusing on that specific audience and the way that they communicate. So one thing that went really well this year at my table that I didn't really have together last year was my branding and my message. We had a really nice, simple banner that my assistant Alexis had made for me. And it said the Learning Resources Online Universe, because we have 3 divisions. And it showed one pointed this way, one this way, and one this way. And then on the table, we had 3 different colored tablecloths, like the table is divided into thirds. And then we had the resources for each one. And then we had flyers for each one, which sounds cluttered, but it was actually very systematic. And each one appealed to the specific market. We answered questions about what people would use. So like on the writing side, it focused much more on the process of writing. Obviously, we didn't go into all the business concepts and all that. For the homeschooling, once we found the interest was mostly on learning about, do I want to homeschool, homeschooling things, questions about homeschooling. We really emphasized my book, The Homeschool Decision, and we pointed out how it was kind of laid out in a Q&A format, as opposed to really talking a lot about the tools that we had, the homeschooling blueprint and the student success system, which are both tools to use within homeschooling. So we focused, when people came over, we would talk about that primary foundational book, because we noticed people were more like, I'm thinking about homeschooling. And so we went there. Over on the entrepreneurship, we realized there weren't as many people at this particular conference who were super interested in building their business, other than some of the writers. And so we kind of shifted ourselves down that way and focused on the two areas that had the most interest. And the last one, if people asked us questions, we answered those. But we really emphasized the area of interest. We began to see a pattern in questions. Now, here's why this is important to building your market. We gathered a lot of really great data just in those few hours of interacting with people and talking to them and hearing their questions. This is the importance of going out and doing live events, not just focusing on doing your online marketing and building that way, because by going out there and talking to people and having a variety of things out there laid out very clearly with very clear instructions, we were able to find out what people were most interested in, some of the questions they had that maybe we didn't think about, and we were able to just kind of talk and find out kind of where the mood was and things like that. We found there was a lot of enthusiasm for the courses, which surprised me. They hadn't been doing as well as the products had, but we had a lot of enthusiasm for the courses and questions about them. But the people who were more like, I'm not quite sure what I want to do, they liked the products. So people who already knew about things, like the people who were already interested in writing, they were just going straight to buying the courses. The people who were thinking about homeschooling, they didn't jump on a course, they wanted a book. So that gave us really valuable marketing information. The same is true if you go and do an event. Now, you may not have a line of books and courses and things like that. You may have a different way that you connect with your target market, but you have something that you're selling. Finding out at these events what people are really interested in, the kind of questions they have, and what resonates with them is extremely valuable information that you can only get in person. And here's why. Because when we go to these, when we go online, we have all these algorithms. And one issue that I have with the algorithms is they show us more of what we've already shown interest in. So if I'm interested in learning about, developing Substack, I talk about it all the time, I'll get all kinds of videos about developing Substack. It does not mean that Substack is trending. It means I've shown interest, so it's showing me the things about Substack. The same thing is true for you. If you've been looking at a specific area because you're most interested in that area, then that's what the algorithm's going to show you. What I found is by talking to these people, since there is no algorithm, there is no filter, I was able to get a lot of really great raw data. So I'm actually increasing the number of conferences that I speak at and speaking opportunities. So let me take this moment. If you're a part of a group, whether it's parents of kids who are entering school age, whether or not they're homeschoolers, I speak on a lot of topics about education, including special education. If you're a writer or part of a writer's group, if you're an aspiring business owner, if you're part of like a small entrepreneurship, not like large business to business or C-suite, that kind of stuff. I'm not into that. I'm in the small business, home-based business, virtual assistant, freelancers, creative endeavors, those kind of business people. If you have a group of people, a network, a community, I would love to come speak at your event. Let me just say that. I don't mind flying. I have frequent flyer miles. I'm not going to make a big habit of it. I don't necessarily charge speaking fees. In fact, I often will try to partner with groups to try to use it as a fundraiser for their organization. I just need to try to get my expenses covered, because the benefit that I get is I get to get out there and talk to people and find out some of their questions. I get to gather information, and I do get to sell some of my products if they're interested. And if they're not, I get to learn what it is that they are interested in getting. I get to have people join my free and paid communities so that I can continue to interact with them and learn from them, and they can learn from me and develop that relationship. That's the goal of going to these events. So if you have any events coming up, please message me. You can get a hold of me through LinkedIn, through Substack, by responding to this. There's a lot of different ways. But think about the same way for you. Where would it be best for you to connect? If you're somebody who's more artistic, maybe you have a local crafters association that has some kind of event and you can get people there. If you're someone who likes to teach things, then find other events that have things where they teach. I was actually at an event. It was called Dangerous Friends Conference that my church put on. And so it was a lot of like political and socially conservative type of topics. It was not specific to writing, homeschooling, or about building a business. But yet people there had an interest in that area. So it doesn't have to be like a MOPS group because you sell things for babies. It can be another group, it can be a business group. And there's some parents there who might have interest. So even if you're not the main topic, as long as you have some crossover on that Venn diagram, depending on cost and things like that, you've got to weigh that out. Those are really great opportunities to get out there and hear what your target market is actually looking for and actually trying to do. Now, this doesn't preclude socials. We then use that information to guide our interactions on the social platforms. We need to think through what kind of questions did we have? What kind of things did we answer? What were some of the things that resonated and did not resonate with people, and allow that to kind of guide our speaking, because again, algorithms keep showing us what we're already talking about. So we may be misguided thinking that people are really interested in areas that they're not. I came back from this conference after talking to all these people with a new excitement to try to serve to people. Serve before you sell. Get out there and serve people in these communities, in these writing communities, in these education communities, because I saw people who really are interested in trying to change, to do things. There was enthusiasm that I haven't seen in a while, and that spurred me on to come online and go, okay, let me shift a little bit what I've been talking about. Let me focus on some of these things, and you'll see those in upcoming podcasts and videos and on my Substacks and on my blogs, my websites, all my socials. But when you're dealing with yours, you need to put together a program that focuses on what their questions are. You learn a lot by meeting them in person, and then you need to make sure that you have a regular schedule for uploading. This is something I'm still struggling with because I kind of feel overwhelmed with everything that's happening and I'm learning so much, but I'm starting to nail it down. At the very least, this podcast comes out every Thursday, almost without exception. So I am getting on top of that one. But there's also the pieces that you need to do. I try to do once a week on each of my Substacks, and then once or twice a month on my paid side of my Substacks. And I'm not finding as much benefit doing Facebook, so I'm going to start like kind of reducing that. And I may even do the same with YouTube unless my numbers start going up. I surged up by over 100 subscribers, I believe it was last week or the week before, but YouTube just doesn't push my videos out very much. People aren't seeing them. And I'll get these little surges where a bunch of people find them, but then my regular subscribers aren't seeing them or something, because I get far more engagement from new people who find me than from existing subscribers. So you've got to kind of weigh what works best. For me, the reason I like Substack the most is because my messages go out in an email directly to the people. And so they know when I've posted. Now, they may not be interested in that week's post and they can delete it, but at least they'll be informed on it. So I hope this has been helpful. I didn't want to let this go on too long. I would love for you to send me some questions if you want more insight on how to do this. I am putting together a tool which I'll be announcing in the next week or two that will help you with kind of keeping on your money-making endeavors, but also incorporating your social media and in-person marketing to try to help you build your business and develop it while still making it profitable and getting things done that actually puts money in your pocket. So thank you so much. Thank you for sticking with me as I've been fumbling my way the last 10 months learning how to put together a podcast. I will see you next week and hopefully have the answers to some questions that you guys send me. But at the very least, give yourself a little bit of grace. We all fail sometimes. We just need to try to fail forward. I'll see you next time.